And all right, I think we're rolling now. All right, so section 1.1 is all about modeling and equation solving. It's kind of these two separate things. So we'll talk about the modeling side of things first, and then, like I said, we'll get into the different methods for solving some types of equations. So there are three different ways to display a model. All right, so like we talked about, we have algebraic, which essentially is building an equation. All right, and that's usually the more difficult one for people, trying to figure out how we can formulate an equation for a certain situation that we have. Another way would be graphical, which would be to draw a graph showing the relationship that you're talking about. And the third way is numerical. And that would be just looking at data in a table. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to be kind of working our way from the bottom to the top of this list through an example. We're going to start with some data in a table, which is usually where you begin. Okay, if you're like doing an experiment or taking a survey or something like that, you're usually going to begin with some sort of data that you've collected. And then you're going to use that, see if you can construct a graph from that, and then use the graph to help you come up with an algebraic model. And usually the algebraic model is kind of the end of the road, because that algebraic model then allows you to plug numbers in and use that to kind of make some predictions and things like that down the road. So I'm going to steal an example out of your textbook here that they use at the beginning, which is something that maybe is interesting to you guys if you guys have jobs, is the minimum wage. Now the data that I have only goes up through 2005. We could include some data from today if we wanted to, if you guys know what the minimum wage is. But it might throw our data off a little bit, because it goes every 5 years up to 2005, and then it would be kind of a jump, to 2014. But we can try it maybe and just kind of see how it goes. But so here's the data we're going to use, though. So we got the years. We're going to start with 1955, and we're just going to go every 5 years. Some of you guys might be a little shocked at what the minimum wage was back in the day. So right around 1995, that's when I was your age, when I was working minimum wage. Okay. And then the minimum wage for each one of these years, this is in dollars and cents. So in 1955, the minimum wage was 75 cents an hour. And then in 1960, it was up to $1. $1.25. Bless you. $1.60. And then, yeah, in 2005, it didn't budge. So maybe we'll put a little, break at the bottom of this. So today, in 2014, anybody work a minimum wage job? Do you know what that is? Okay, well we'll do 815 then. And we're going to leave this out of our data for now, but we might plug it in later and just kind of see if it fits the pattern a little bit. Something else we're going to look at here is something that's called purchasing power. Okay, purchasing power basically represents if we got rid of inflation. Okay, so what would the amount of money that we'd be able to be spending in today's dollars back in whatever year it was? Okay, so basically this is kind of a way of, like if you look at 1955, 75 cents an hour, if you try to compare that to today, it's kind of hard to do because the inflation, has ballooned it up so much more than what it was. But if we kind of get rid of that, that's what the purchasing power does. So like in 1955, it'd be kind of like having a minimum wage of $4.39. Okay, so I'm going to pull that through here. And I'm not entirely sure why they did this, but the purchasing power that they used is in 1996 dollars for some reason. So it's not based off of today. So we don't know what the purchasing power is off of, the data from 2014. So we can't complete the table there, but we can play around with the minimum wage part of it anyway. Okay, so the very first thing that I want you guys to do with this is we're going to put this data into our calculator, okay, so that we can start to work with it a little bit. Okay, so to do that, you're going to go to the button that says Stat, okay, and that's, if you go to where it says Alpha, and you just go over 2 buttons, there's Stat. If you hit Stat, it's going to take you into this menu. And we want to edit. So you're just going to hit Enter. Okay, now like mine, you might have something in one of these lists, and you want to get rid of it. Okay, so here's the thing. You can use the arrows to kind of move around from one list to another. You can also go up here. Now, if you're up here, you want to be careful. If you want to get rid of a list, or you want to get rid of the data in a list, you have to hit Clear. If you hit Delete, then you actually delete the entire list, which we don't want to do. We want the list to be there. We just want it to be empty. Okay? So the Clear button is like right below all the little arrows over here. Okay? So once you're up and you've highlighted the little L2 or whatever it is, if you've got something in there, then hit Clear, and you'll notice on the bottom everything will go away. Then hit Enter, and you should have an empty list now. Yeah?
Yeah, I just pressed delete.
Okay. Hold on. Can I pause this? No. Okay. Well, I can quick fix it. Okay.
Almost done. It starts at 2.
Okay. Okay. There you go. All right. So we're going to need L1, L2, and L3 all empty. Okay. So we're going to make sure you've got that. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we'll do L1 is going to be the years, the minimum wage, and L3 power. Now, before you start typing numbers in there, in general, if you're using time or years as data, it's better to use a smaller number than the entire 4-digit number for a year, because your calculator has difficulty crunching numbers that are big. And 4 digits even sometimes can give it some problems. So what we can do is we can modify L1 to make it like years since something, if we wanted to do it that way instead. Okay, and if we just remember that, that'll work a lot better for the calculator when it's crunching the numbers later. So like for 1955, if instead of doing 1955, what do you think we could change it to that might make it a little bit easier to work with? You could click it all the way down to 1 if you wanted. What might be easier to follow if you're looking at it later, though, is to just make it a 55. Okay? So we're going to go that way with it. But that's totally fine, too. As long as you can remember that 1955 is year 1, and then every other year is that many years since then, that's fine, too. So go ahead and fill out that list just with all of the years. And so the year 2000 would have to be 100. Okay, make sure you're doing that. You're not making that 0, 0. And then 2005 would be 105. All right, and then the other ones you can just type the stuff in directly. Okay, it's just in dollars, so that's fine. Those are small numbers. So go ahead and fill out L2 with the minimum wage and L3 with the purchasing power then, just like you see it in the list. All right, so what we're going to do with this is we're going to create some graphs now from this. Okay, we're going to make a scatter plot of this data. Everybody know what a scatter plot is? Seen those before? Okay, basically it's a plot of a whole bunch of dots. And each one of these different sets of information down this list is going to be another one of those points on that scatter plot. Okay, now here's the thing though. We've got 3 columns here. Okay, and scatter plots are just x, y. Right? There's just 2 things that we're looking at together. So we're actually going to create 2 scatter plots here. One scatter plot is going to be the minimum wage with the time, and the other scatter plot is going to be the purchasing power with time. Okay? And we're going to look at both of those and see if we can answer some questions about minimum wage and purchasing power by looking at those graphs. All right? So to create a graph, or to create a scatter plot, you actually want to quit out of stat. Now that the numbers are all in there, we don't need to mess with that anymore. So you can second, quit, and that'll get you back to the home screen again.